So I've never been one to really pay attention to E3. I've always thought it was just a bunch of overhyped trailers with a bunch of old men pretending they know what a joystick is. But I figured, since I do make game videos on the internet, and clearly that means I'm a professional, I should pay a little bit of attention. And... okay, holy crap, I get it. I understand the hype. I've heard that this was actually one of the more solid E3s in recent years, so I guess I just picked a really good year to start paying attention. But it doesn't mean there aren't a crap ton of games that I'm really excited for. So much so that this list started off as a top 10 list, and because there were so many games I had to leave on the list, I've expanded it to a top 15. Now, a lot of what's going to happen here is I'm going based purely off E3 hype, but not necessarily just games I'm excited for. So, while, yes, I'm extremely excited for Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, the initial trailer was basically stuff we'd already learned from the Koro leaks about a week before, so that gets knocked down a few spots. So yes, even after expanding the list to 15 games, there were still quite a few games that I felt like I had to mention here that I'm excited for. So, if you don't see something in this montage or in the top 15, there's a good chance I'm not really all that excited for it, or somehow I missed it. One game you guys are going to notice, and I'll just address it now, there is going to be no Metal Gear Solid 5 anywhere. And quite simply, I've never played a single Metal Gear game, and while it looks really good, it sounds really good, and I've actually heard that Ground Zeroes? Whatever the one they released a couple months ago was. I've heard that's actually really good even if it is short. So, I'm excited for it, but I've got so many games I have to play just to get myself prepared to play it that I really probably won't even get a chance to play the game until 2017 at the rate I play games. And that's an optimistic look. But anyways, here are my honorable mentions. $15. I have a confession to make. I'm not a huge fan of Dragon Age. I mean, I played Origins. I might have even beaten it twice, but I never got into it like everyone else on the internet seemed to. Apparently it's this big deal. I always looked at it as sort of a side project for BioWare while they were too busy, you know, rendering elevators for Mass Effect. So, it always felt too much like Knights of the Old Republic to me, and it didn't seem to make any strides like Mass Effect did. Graphically, it looked more like an original Xbox game and not like an Xbox 360 game like the Mass Effect games were, especially when we saw what Mass Effect 2 turned out to be a few months later. But Inquisition still looks pretty good, and I'll definitely be playing it at some point. But first I need to play Dragon Age 2. And since that's going to be a recurring theme, I'm just going to put a counter down here going through how many games on my backlog I have to play before I can actually play these games. 14. This game just looks beautiful, with a Rayman Origins quality to it. I mean, yes, it's technically an Xbox One exclusive, but apparently it's also coming to PC, so I actually have a chance of playing this one. Yes, this game looks so good that I might actually give in and play something on the PC for once. Everybody, this is not a drill. 13. So you're telling me you're gonna make a game with the spaceship fights from Ratchet & Clank: A Crack in Time, and I'm gonna be able to fly to whatever planet I feel like, using the atmosphere as a loading screen to continue those fights. And you're gonna make it absolutely beautiful? You know, I'm starting to understand the big deal about indie games these days, especially when they look like this. Number 12. So I'm not much for competitive multiplayer, but this game just looks way too much fun to pass up. Splattering paint everywhere, turning into a squid, and traveling through the paint to sneak up on your opponents and reach higher places. This certainly won't replace Team Fortress 2 as the go-to squad-based shooter, but it does give parents who own a Wii U something that's actually a child-friendly alternative to Call of Duty. There are still parents trying to keep their 5-year-olds away from Call of Duty, right? Number 11. Alright, so I have a funny story. Back in 2005, I bought my first PS2. And that was mostly because I had heard that the Jak and Daxter games were something right up my alley, especially with my love of Banjo-Kazooie. So I went out, I picked up all 3 of them, I got home, I set up the PS2, and I played the original Jak and Daxter for maybe 15 minutes. I had to go to work. I never touched it again. And about a year later, I traded in the system and all the games, and that was that. I've still never played a Jak and Daxter game. Flash forward to 2011. Best Buy has a deal where you get the PS3 bundle that comes with Uncharted 3, and the controller bundle that comes with the first 2 Uncharted games. And I had just gotten surgery, so I had a couple weeks to spare, so I went to the store, picked it up, and played Saints Row 3, which I'd already played on the Xbox. But I did actually get around to at least the first Uncharted game a few months later, and it was a lot of fun. So, for those keeping track at home, that means of all the Naughty Dog games I've bought, talked about, I've played 2. Uncharted and Crash Team Racing. And that's it. So, while I am really looking forward to Uncharted 4, and it looks really good, that's, counting Golden Abyss, 3 games you can add to this counter right here. My finger doesn't show up, it's underneath the thing. Screw it, leave it, I'll edit it in post. Number 10. This one would actually be higher if I owned an Xbox One. Like, this might be number 1 if I own an Xbox One. For as much as I harp on Crackdown 2, it's entirely because Crackdown is one of my favorite games of all time. And Crackdown 2 was such a piece of shit. So, I'm okay with them just calling this Crackdown. It's funny that they're rebooting a series after, what, 7 years? But, at least they get to erase Crackdown 2 from memory. I hope. Number 9.
I think we're making progress in these sessions.
I mentioned this in my top 10 Game of the Year list, but I was really afraid Square Enix wouldn't let Crystal Dynamics get another crack at Tomb Raider. And luckily I was wrong. They actually get 2. I've never played Guardians of Light, and it doesn't really look like something that's up my alley, but Rise of the Tomb Raider looks like more of that gritty goodness. So I'm really excited for this one.
Take some walks.
Although, this guy creeps me the f*** out. Number 8. So, despite the fact that there's like 8 million of these goddamn things, I have never actually played a Dynasty Warriors game. I have, however, played 99 Nights, and it's almost like the same thing. So I'm assuming that the real thing with a Hyrule skin added to it means that this should be a really fun game. I mean, I'm gonna go around and beat the hell out of everything. What's not to love? Number 7. I still haven't played any of the Far Cry games, though I have had 3 sitting on my shelf for about 8 months now. But I just really, really like this villain. So, yeah, I'm sold. I'll be picking it up. And I guess you can add this to my list of games that I have to play. I'm not going to bother with the first 2. Or Blood Dragon. I'm not into Neon. Sorry, Fetch. Number 6. I love these games. Even if they're easy, even if they're overly adorable, even if I can't say the main character's name without doing a terrible impersonation of his voice. Yoshi! And even though New Island was the worst game I've played so far this year, I'm still always going to love this franchise and will always come back to it. And 2-player Yoshi? Yes. Oh, and even though I've played every entry in the Yoshi series so far, I guess technically I haven't played Kirby's Epic Yarn, so that gets added to the list now too. Number 5. So while I do a lot of these lists, I try and compile them over time. So for instance, my top 10 Game of the Year 2014 list is already halfway done, because if I like a game, I write a little blurb on it and throw it in. So I was doing the same thing during E3, Sony's press conference. I was literally just sitting there, adding a game, reordering them, and doing whatever. So when Nintendo announced, when Nintendo did their thing, and they showed their Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire trailer, I slapped it down at the bottom of the list because we had already learned this stuff in Koro a week before. So Nintendo decided to troll me and kept slowly revealing more screenshots, more trailers, even Mega Sableye throughout the next couple of days. So that's how it's worked its way back up this far on the list. So while I'm excited for it, god damn it, Nintendo. Why did you make this harder for me and make me do extra work? I mean, it's not like I have a lot of extra work to do. It's not like it's very hard making top 10 lists on the internet, but oh god, I shouldn't put this in the video. Wait, cut it out now!
Great stories are timeless and they'll last
Number 4.
So at BioWare, we're trying to make that the heart of what we're doing.
I mean, obviously this would rank number 1 if we had a trailer, something more than just a few seconds of gameplay footage to work off of, but what we saw was pretty good. I am curious about that Krogan roaring in the thing, because does that mean he's like a primal Krogan? Is this like confirming it's a prequel? We're going back to the Rachni Wars? In an interview, Aaron Flynn said that this was supposed to move on past the trilogy, but at the same time give nods to the older games, to people like us who are really in love with this franchise. But that doesn't mean that it has to be a sequel to do that. So, I'm curious to see what that's gonna be. I'm also curious about this new IP they're working on, because even though, yeah, like I said, I'm not a huge fan of Dragon Age, I've never played a bad BioWare game. I mean, the sample size is only 5 games, so they haven't screwed up yet. Number 3. So only about a half hour after I saw the Mass Effect footage did the Sony press conference start up. So needless to say, I had Mass Effect on the brain. And it opened up with the Destiny trailer, which I honestly thought was a Mass Effect trailer. I thought they managed to get the exclusive rights to the trailer. Then I realized it's EA. They would have taken it for themselves. Now, I'm one of the few people who knew nothing about Destiny going into E3 this year. Like, absolutely nothing, other than it was by Bungie and wasn't starring Master Chief, and apparently it's supposed to be like an MMO or something. I don't know. So, save for a few magazine covers, this is my first look at this game, and alright, as you can tell by it being number 3 on the list, I'm pretty blown away by it. I mean, offer the great first-person shooter games of the Halo franchise, plus some Mass Effect biotics thrown in. Alright, sign me up. Oh wait, I did sign up. And I'm going to be spending the rest of the weekend playing the alpha. And if I like that, I'll be getting the beta. So, non-disclosure agreements pending. You should hopefully see something about the alpha later this week. Number 2. Holy crap, this game looks amazing. I haven't played an Arkham game since the original Arkham Asylum, so all of this is brand new to me. An open world, I knew what was going on, but it's all new to me. And Scarecrow, buddy, what the hell happened to you over the last 5 years? You look awesome, but I think also very unhealthy. Oh, and like I said, I haven't played one since Asylum, so that's 3 more games added to my list. Number 1. So while I may not be a Zelda fanboy, it doesn't mean that any entry in the Zelda franchise doesn't immediately pique my interest. I know we don't really have a lot to go off of here, and I highly doubt they're going to pull off Skyrim, but if we get a 3D Link to the Past with a wraparound map, I'm fine with that. I am more than fine with that. And I know the whole controversy about Link could have potentially been a girl, but I'm not getting involved in that. I don't care either way. If he's a girl, then I'll play as She-Link. And finally, you cosplayers who dress up as sexy female Links will no longer creep me out. Maybe. Oh, and since I haven't been good at keeping up on them, add Skyward Sword to the list. So that's 10 games that I have to play before I play any of these games. I wonder how many of these 15 games I will never play. I'm gonna guess 10. So that's what I'm excited for. Hopefully some of these games will actually live up to their hype, or at least come close. But I'm curious, and I want to know what you guys are excited for, so let me know in the comments below. And also let me know what games you feel like I should have had higher, lower, or just on the list. I know you're going to say Bloodborne. I know you're going to say Bloodborne. I have a good reason for it. I've never played any of the Demons or Dark Souls games, and I don't really like difficult video games, so I'm sure I'll play it. I'm sure it'll be good. It just doesn't make my list. At least I get to erase Crackdown 2 from memory. I hope. Dogs. Dog boys. What you gonna do? What you gonna do when they bark at you? Stop filming is apparently the answer to that.